Greetings, everybody. Welcome to another live stream on a Monday, bright and early. Hope everyone has coffee available. Oh boy, we need it this morning. Fantastic. So today we're going to be discussing National Federation of High School Basketball Rules, Technical Fouls. If you are jumping in on the replay, you can always put a comment in the comments below, but let us know where you're officiating from in the country. Be pleased to meet you. We've got Les O'Connor in the house. Hot cup of coffee. Everything's going to be all right. I hear you. I hear you. Thomas Hennian, the Zooch, Jason Hayes. Billy Mack is back on the scene. Good to have you back, Billy. The Cave State. Ooh. Yeah. We're winging it this morning, I will tell you that much. Mike Goodwin, Tada is in the house. Bernard Grimsley jumping on. Good morning, Bernard. Bernard, where are you officiating from? I forget. Yeah, I forget. Marcel in the South Bay, celebrating a 49er victory. I hope everybody enjoyed the football over the weekend. Start of the NFL season. Exciting times here in the Bay Area. 49ers are pretty good. Almost had a catastrophe yesterday, though, at the end of the game. But this team's got to stay healthy. Billy Mack, planning on attending the fall seminar in Trumbull, Connecticut, October 1st to 3rd. All the bigwigs from IAABO going to be there for that, Billy? Let me know. Tremendous. Hey, I'm going to jump right into the rundown. Hey, so we have a schedule of live events every Wednesday. Basketball rules experts, 7 a.m. Pacific. We look at case play scenarios, rules scenarios, so that we can have a better understanding of the rules of National Federation of High School Basketball and see if we can adjudicate plays correctly. And of course, the key motivation is that we have the rules with us on the basketball court, right? Rules book knowledge is great. Test taking is great, but the ability to take the rules with us onto the court is what's most important. And every Friday, 5-Play Friday, we look at plays, analyze the positioning of the crew, call correct, incorrect. Did we work the system properly? Were we in the right place at the right time, looking at the right things? And of course, what was the play? Was the ruling correct by rule, etc.? It all comes together on Fridays for the video. And then every other Monday, we have a Masterclass Monday. Today, we are looking at technical fouls in National Federation of High School Basketball Rules. And this will start Technical Foul Week here at A Better Official. We will have a Masterclass on Monday where we will have a presentation about the rules themselves. On Wednesday, we'll be looking at case play scenarios involving technical fouls. And then on Friday, we will look at video plays that involve technical fouls. And then we will, of course, put our phone on silent. All the grand poobahs. Excellent. Oh, wait a minute. Let me finish up here. If you're new to the show, put your name in the chat. Put new. Let us know where you officiate from. I'd be pleased to meet you. My name is Greg Austin with abetterofficial.com. We live stream at least 2 times a week. And of course, at any point along the way, during our live streams, put your voice in the game. Make a comment in the chat about a ruling, a play scenario, the things that we are discussing. Of course, when we do our masterclass, it's really more of a presentation. It's more of a one-sided, less interactive situation. But always appreciate getting feedback on the presentation itself and the way things are going with the show. I mean, we want to put out a quality product. Okay, so I'm going to go there, and we're going to see. Okay. Secret handshake, open bar, okay, and lots of golf. Wow. Okay. I'm getting the picture. I'm getting the picture here. Nice. Nice. Okay. All right. So I'm going to slam through this morning a brief presentation on technical fouls in National Federation of High School Basketball rules. That is the goal, and I'm going to write. Yeah, I'm definitely winging it with the technology. Let's take a look at our secret can. No, I'm not going to do that. Not going to do it. I don't want to screw things up. Okay, things are really simple here. All right. Let's give it a go. Technical fouls are a part of the game. We need to have a basic understanding of several factors in order to adjudicate technical fouls properly. That's what we're doing today. We're going to look at technical fouls in National Federation of High School Basketball rules. So, the first thing we have to be aware of with technical fouls is we need to know the correct category of foul. We need to know what kind of technical it is. Oftentimes you will see officials and they are asked about a rule scenario or what have you, and the response is, oh, that's a technical foul, right? But without properly categorizing what kind of technical foul it is, we are at risk of administering and adjudicating a play improperly. So we need to know the category of technical. There are 5. There's an administrative technical, team technical, substitute technical, player technical, bench technical. Those are our 5. We need to know which category because it's going to affect various aspects of the game. So we also need to know a window to assess. Technical fouls sometimes come with a limited window in which we can assess that technical foul. And if we are past that window, then we are not empowered to assess a technical foul in that instance. So we need to know that window. We also need to know what the penalty is. Great news, National Federation of High School Basketball rules, the penalties are very straightforward and similar for all technical fouls. And then we need to know how to administer and the resulting free throws and penalties and resume the game. And again, great news there, as it is very straightforward and simple. So those are our things we need to know: the correct category, the window to assess what the penalty is, and how to administer and resume. Again, our 5 categories of technical foul are administrative, team, substitute, player, or bench. We need to know what kind of technical foul we have. So today we're going to review each of these 5 categories. Each of them has something in the rules that clearly outlines what the correct administration or what the fouls in these categories constitute. First of all, as we always like to do, let's start with the definition of a technical foul. And we can find that in Rule 419, Article 5. A technical foul is a foul by a non-player. Player on the bench steps up and shoves a player on the court. A foul by a non-player. B, a non-contact foul by a player. And that's critical to understand, is that technical fouls are not contact fouls. If a player commits illegal contact, it cannot be a technical foul during live ball play. It cannot be a technical foul by rule. C, an intentional or flagrant contact foul while the ball is dead, except a foul by an airborne shooter. So this addresses dead ball contact after the play. One player doesn't like what the other player did and they shove them. Dead ball contact is going to be an intentional or flagrant technical foul. D, a direct technical charge to the head coach because of his or her actions, right? Very specific here. Coach has bad behavior. Coach gets a direct technical foul. And it also addresses here E, an indirect technical charge to the head coach as a result of a bench technical foul being assessed to team personnel. So the head coach is responsible for the behavior of bench personnel, and bench personnel is always defined by rule. Coach is responsible for that behavior, and any behavior that rises to the level of a technical foul by bench personnel is also indirectly charged to the head coach. All right. Let's take a look at the administrative technical foul. Give me just a sec. One moment, please. All right, sorry about that. Let's take a look at Rule 10, Section 1, the administrative technical foul. Okay, administrative technical fouls are really important to understand rules and restrictions because they are basically bookkeeping criteria, right? The submission of a team roster and starters is a responsibility that teams have. They have a time period in which they need to do that. If there is an inaccuracy in the information supplied by the teams with their rosters and starters, they are at risk of administrative technical foul. That information is then transcribed into the scorebook. If the information itself proves to be inaccurate, as in we did not list a player on our roster, and we have to add a player after the game has started or after the 10-minute mark, teams are at risk of a technical foul, administrative technical foul in this instance. So Article 1, fail to supply the scorer with the name and number of each team member who may participate and designate the 5 starting players at least 10 minutes before the scheduled starting time. After the 10-minute mark, to make a change in a designated starter unless necessitated by injury or illness, to add a name to the team member list, require the scorer to change a team member's or player's number in the scorebook, require a player to change to the number in the scorebook, or have identical numbers on team members' jerseys. Right? This is really straightforward. Teams need to accurately supply a list of their roster, team members who may participate, and designated starters. That is the responsibility of each team. Recognize, though, that this does not require that teams ensure accuracy of what is transcribed into the scorebook. Teams are required to supply the information. If I'm a visiting team and I supply you with my roster and my starters and the scorekeeper makes a mistake, that's not on me, right? So we need to know that what the team's responsibility is to supply a roster of team members who may participate and designated starters and do it prior to the 10-minute mark. Now, if they do that, the information is transcribed into the scorebook, and at some point after the 10-minute mark, a change has to be made, then the team is at risk for an administrative technical foul. One of the key components, though, of administrative technical fouls is that all bookkeeping errors are limited to one technical foul per team. So a team puts in their roster and their numbers are all wrong, right? They put in their visiting roster and not their home roster, whatever. They've 10 players with wrong numbers. We don't assess 10 technical fouls. We only assess one administrative technical foul for roster-related issues per game. Article 3, extremely rare, use a megaphone or electronic communication device, right? Super obscure. Article 4, fail to occupy a team member's bench to which it was assigned. Also super obscure. The key takeaway from this rule and restrictions, teams are responsible to provide accurate information, and if, after they have supplied the information, after the 10-minute mark or after the game has begun, changes need to be made, that team is at risk of an administrative technical foul. Now, the first two articles are the most important: failure to supply and then errors within the information supplied. Both of those could receive technical fouls. Article 1 could be, I submitted my roster at the 2-minute mark. I'm assessed an administrative technical foul for the delay in submitting the information. And then Article 2, there's an error in the submitted information that is discovered at some point during the game. It's Article 2 that the limit of one per game is referred to, is in reference to. So, after the 10-minute mark, it's discovered this player, their number is incorrect in the book. A change has to be made. Administrative technical foul. 10 minutes later, another player, it's discovered their number is not in the book. We have to add them to the book. We'd be at risk for administrative technical foul, but we've already used the one related to information that has been submitted. So that's where our maximum lies, in Article 1, or in Article 2. All right, so that's a look at the administrative technical foul. Let's take a look now at team technical, right? A little more meaty. Allow the game to develop into an actionless contest. Much more by delaying things, etc. Consuming a full minute through not being ready to start either half. Delay the game by preventing the ball to be promptly being made live. Commit a violation of a throw-in boundary plane after any team warning for delay. Contact or huddle 2 or more players in the lane prior to the free throw. Interfering with the ball following a goal, etc. Not having the court ready for play, right? Article 2, to have more than 5 team players participating simultaneously, 6 players on the court. Request an excess timeout. Commit an unsporting foul. That would refer to Article 5, fail to have all players return to the court after a timeout or intermission. Allow players to lock arms or grasp teammates. Right, so we have the team technical fouls laid out in Rule 10, Section 2. Team technical fouls, right, are going to often relate to the 5 warnings for delay. breaking the plane, etc. If a delay of game warning has been given and a team commits something that would incur a delay of game warning violation, that they don't have to match up, right? The delay, 30-second timeout, team has water on the floor. We'd have to delay the game to clean up the water and ensure it's a safe environment. That's going to be a delay of game warning on that team, and then subsequently they do perform one of the other actions, such as penetrate or contact the ball after a made goal, preventing the opponent from getting the ball promptly. That would be something that rose to the level of delay of game warning. So since a delay of game warning has been issued, that would be a team technical by rule. Right? Also important to note, of these things, some are much more common than others. Failure to have all players return to the court approximately the same time, very rare, but a rule. Allow players to lock arms or grasp a teammate in an effort to restrict movement of an opponent, extremely rare, but much more common to request an excess timeout. Important to recognize, though, that this is a team technical foul and not related to the player or the head coach. If the head coach, out of timeout, says, timeout, timeout, right, and we grant the timeout, it's not on the coach. The player, in the middle of the floor, in distress, timeout, ref, timeout, right? We grant the timeout, which we are obligated to do by rule, even if we know that they are out of timeouts. It is not on the player. It is a team technical foul by rule. And that's, of course, what we're really trying to understand here is what category of technical foul is this? We have to have that answer in any technical foul situation in order to adjudicate plays properly. All right, so the team technicals, covered those. Let's take a look now at the substitute technical, right? Really simple and straightforward, right? NFHS says, okay, look, a player has left the bench and has come to the table. They are away from the head coach's control. That player runs onto the court, enters early, it fails to be beckoned onto the court, etc. That is a substitute technical, but it's not related to the head coach, even though that player is bench personnel, right? We give a little special exemption here. Coach, you're not responsible for this player's behavior when the behavior is simply running onto the court, not being beckoned, etc. So if we look at the specifics, a substitute must not enter the court without reporting to the scorer, or Article 2, without being beckoned by an official, except between quarters and during timeouts, right? During a time, coach calls a timeout, sends two subs to the table. The two subs go to the table and say, hey, I'm substituting in. And the scorer says, okay, 12 and 15 are entering the game. Okay, those are non-administered substitutes, right? Legal by rule. But during the game, during non-intermissions and timeouts, substitutes must be beckoned onto the court by the officials. So if a player violates or a team member violates, in this instance, it is a substitute technical. The substitute technical goes on the player, not on the head coach, right? Goes on the player. And we obviously need to know when these situations, what the window is for discoverability on these situations. That's going to be crucial. All right, player technical, right? A much meatier section. There are many things that players can do that rise to the level of technical foul. It's also very straightforward, right? When a player commits one of these actions, we're not confused about, wait, is this a substitute? Is this a team? Is this right? It's pretty much going to be on the player and therefore easier to adjudicate. But a player must not participate after changing his or her number without reporting that fact. A blood situation occurs. Player has blood on their jersey, switches jerseys, which is allowed by rule but fails to inform the scorer, that would certainly be something we'd want to manage through and administer properly. Purposefully and or deceitfully delay returning after being legally out of bounds. Grasp either basket at any time during the game except to prevent injury, dunk or stuff, or attempt to dunk or stuff a dead ball. Illegally contacting the backboard by placing a hand to gain an advantage, intentionally slapping or striking the backboard, causing the ring to vibrate while a try or tap is in flight, or is touching the backboard, or is in the basket, or in the cylinder above the basket. Article 5, delay the game by such acts as preventing the ball from being promptly made live or put in play, failing when in possession to immediately pass the ball to a nearer official when a whistle sounds, free throw, fails to be in the free throw semicircle when the official is ready to administer, and commit an unsporting foul, right? Unsporting fouls are going to be a key component of this rule, right? We've had some minutia, less common things that are occurring, but obviously to commit an unsporting foul is a technical foul by rule. Disrespectfully addressing or contacting an official, gesturing, using inappropriate language or obscene gestures, baiting or taunting an opponent. And then there's a note that NFHS is extremely interested in officials penalizing any sort of baiting or taunting, unacceptable in National Federation of High School Basketball. Purposefully obstructing an opponent's vision by waving a hand near their face, climbing on or lifting a teammate to secure greater height, faking being fouled, using alcohol, tobacco, removing a jersey or pants within the visual confines of the playing area, leave the playing court for an unauthorized reason, right? Some of these are relatively obscure. The key components here are obviously disrespecting the officials, disrespecting an opponent, using inappropriate language, baiting or taunting an opponent. Unacceptable by rule. These are going to be the most common elements in this situation. Article 7, contacting an opponent when the ball is dead and such contact is not a personal foul. That would be a dead ball contact foul, either intentional or flagrant. Be charged with fighting, commit goaltending during a free throw, reach through a boundary plane, or touch or dislodge the ball, as in 9-2 penalty 3. Okay, so we have a rundown of all the things that are player technical fouls. Now, it's really important that we get player technical fouls correct, because a player can get, if they receive a second technical foul during the game, they are disqualified by rule. Anything that leads to a disqualification of players or impingement on the coach for they're losing their privilege to stand and coach their team, these kind of things are really important in terms of us categorizing correctly what technical foul we are assessing. If we inappropriately assess an indirect technical foul to a head coach and remove their ability to stand and coach their team, we have essentially created a fairness situation where the other team is gaining an advantage by that fact, potentially, not necessarily. Sometimes it's the best thing for a coach to lose that privilege, even erroneously. But obviously that's a mistake we don't want to make. And critical, of course, is if we assess a tactical foul that is to a player and it should not have been assessed to them, they are then at risk of being disqualified for a second technical foul, and that would be an erroneous ruling on our part. Okay, so critical to understand what category of technical foul. Let's move next to the bench technical, and this is a really important area for understanding, because remember, well, first of all, the coach, when they receive a technical foul, it becomes really simple. That is a direct technical foul on the head coach, and we'll cover those things. But the coach is responsible for bench personnel, and bench personnel commit a technical foul or are assessed a technical foul. That responsibility is indirectly applied to the head coach. So understanding bench technical fouls is critical. So the head coach is responsible for his or her own conduct and behavior, as well as substitutes, disqualified team members, and other bench personnel. Bench personnel, including the head coach, must not commit an unsporting foul by disrespectfully addressing the official, attempting to influence an official's decision, using inappropriate language or gestures, disrespectfully addressing, baiting, or taunting an opponent. And again, there's the note that NFHS will not accept any form of taunting, especially if it includes basis of race, religion, gender, or national origin. That's a high priority for National Federation of High School. Objecting to an official's decision by rising from the bench or using gestures, inciting undesirable crowd reactions, being charged with fighting, this is going to refer to bench personnel, removing the jersey and or pants skirt within the visual confines of the playing area, grasping either basket to prevent injury, dunking, or attempting to dunk or stuff a dead ball. Of course, that last one would be pre-game and halftime warm-up situations. Dunking is specifically prohibited by rule. Enter the court unless by permission of an official to attend an injured player, so coach stepping onto the court, use alcohol or any form of tobacco, stand at the team bench while the clock is running or is stopped, and must remain seated except the head coach, right? So bench personnel cannot remain standing during live ball play. Of course, important to remember that all bench personnel are allowed to react to the game. An exciting play happens, everybody on the bench jumps up, celebrates, high five, they do some team-oriented thing that celebrates their player, etc. But they, after that initial reaction, are required to remain seated. And Article 5 is an important one. Leave the confines of the bench during a fight or when a fight may occur, right? And we have penalties for all of these situations. If we look, though, predominantly the bench technical is addressing behavior of the coach and assistant coaches and team members on the bench, right? A lot of times, a lot of the components here are addressing the coach behavior, trying to influence a decision, etc. This is going to predominantly fall to the level of the head coach. It could be an assistant coach. Rarely will it be a team member who's saying, trying to influence a decision from the bench. Okay, but our bench technical fouls here are clearly outlined by rule, and this puts us in a position where we now have an understanding of each of the 5 categories of technical foul: administrative technical foul, team technical foul, substitute technical foul, player technical foul, and bench technical foul. This is an overview of those categories. We need to know which we're assessing. Okay? Now let's talk about the administration of penalties in technical foul situations. And here's the great news. Unlike other levels where there's different administration of penalties, in National Federation of High School, it's really, really simple. Always, the offended team receives 2 free throws that can be sought by any player or eligible substitute, and they receive the ball for a division line throw-in opposite the table. Administrative technical foul, what are we going to do? 2 free throws, ball at the division line. Substitute technical foul, what are we going to do? The same thing. Team technical, player technical on the head coach, always the same penalty. 2 free throws, the ball for division line throw-in opposite the table. We need to know all the things. We need to know who can attempt those free throws and what the restrictions are, etc. There's lots more to officiating the game of high school basketball, but the penalty is simple and straightforward. The other key component when it comes to technical fouls is recognizing that indirect technical fouls, indirect, where the coach is receiving an indirect technical foul relating to the behavior of bench personnel. There is no penalty in itself for an indirect technical foul. Assistant coach makes a fool of themselves. We assess a technical foul on the assistant coach. The head coach receives an indirect technical foul and will then lose their privilege to stand and coach their team. But we are going to shoot 2 technical fouls related to the technical foul on the assistant, but we will not shoot, or there's no penalty related to the designation of an indirect technical foul. Now, the head coach carries with them the responsibility, and if they receive a third of any combination of direct technical fouls and indirect technical fouls, they would be disqualified, or ejected rather, by rule and have to leave the confines of the game. Okay, so the indirect fouls can accumulate and have an effect on the head coach. But for indirect technical fouls, there are never free throws shot. It's just a designation assigned to the head coach that bench personnel, who they are required to control the behavior of, have committed a technical foul. So, let's go here. Let's review. We need to understand when it comes to technical fouls, what type of technical foul is it? That's critical. We need to know what our window of opportunity is to assess a technical foul. A substitute was not beckoned onto the court. They played basketball. They left the court. They're on the bench. At some point, the book says, hey, ref, that player wasn't in the book, right? But our window to assess a substitute technical in that instance, or an administrative technical, has passed by rule. So we need to know those windows. We need to know the penalty. Great news. It's simple, straightforward. 2 free throws and the ball for a division line throw-in. And we need to know how to administer and resume the game. Our categories of technical fouls that we have to dominate and own completely when we go on the basketball court: the administrative technical, team technical, substitute technical, player technical, and bench technical. And the bench technical, of course, brings with it different considerations with indirect technical fouls, and we need to be experts at that as well. So today we've had an overview of technical fouls and National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Simple, straightforward. We're just getting an inch deep, right, on how to assess these technical fouls, etc. But we've given an overview of the technical fouls, the 5 scenarios we need to be aware of. And this should be able to help us as we enter our game and proceed when we officiate games in National Federation of High School Basketball rules. Thanks for joining us today for the presentation. Again, later in the week, we'll have basketball rules expert. We'll cover play scenarios. And on 5 Play Friday, we will look at video of play scenarios as well, so we have a better understanding of how to adjudicate technical fouls in National Federation of High School Basketball rules. We're winging it. We are winging it 100%. Pretty boring. No, it's not. Has anyone ever administered a technical foul for not having the book ready 10 minutes prior to the start? Okay, so Jason, let's think about your language. Not having the book ready. Who is responsible for having the book ready? I know what you mean. But think about the language and what the responsibilities of the team are. Team needs to properly submit information. Once they have submitted information, they have no responsibility for what's going on in the book. None, right? The scorekeeper transcribed the information and they put a 23 instead of a 32 for one of my players. Is that my fault as a team, right? So we refer to that information sometimes as the book, make a change to the scorebook, etc. But the information is the key component that teams have. So let's change this to, has anyone ever administered a technical foul for not submitting their roster prior to the 10-minute mark? Well, I can tell you that I have. And here's the scenario. It's a game at a local high school. Visiting coach comes to the table. We're at the, let's say at the 10-minute mark, right? I came over at the 10-minute mark. The visiting coach has presented a piece of paper to the scorer, and it says, high school roster, here's all the players, big stars next to 5 players designating the starters. They have properly submitted that information. Head coach for the other team. Coach, where's your roster? Right? He's looking for the book. He's lost the book. What have you? Right? So we have this dynamic where the visiting team is there properly submitting their roster, and the home team has failed to do so. So given the dynamic, right, of one team properly complying and the other obviously not complying, we did assess a technical foul on the head coach and started the game with an administrative technical foul, and started the game with 2 free throws and the ball for division line throw-in. Mike, may still be granted, and case play says must be granted, right? The knowledge of the official that team is out of timeouts is not something that they should take into account when a player or head coach requests that excessive timeout. That's the directive. Of course, my hearing. Yeah, there's so many factors, of course, that come into the 10-minute mark, right? There's so many factors. I mean, in many scenarios we are in, there's a lot of factors. Yeah, absolutely, Les. There are potentially 2 administrative technical fouls that can be assessed there. And just knowing the difference and being aware is the key. The submission of the information is one, and there can only be one administrative, because that's going to be an event that has either occurs or doesn't occur. And then the other, making changes. Of course, you can have a situation where multiple changes need to be made to the book, and just the awareness that only a maximum of 1 administrative technical foul for the violation of Article 2 is appropriate. Yeah, statute of limitations is tough. When discovered, while occurring, and these kind of things are really challenging. And I agree with Mike Goodwin. Having the book ready is not a thing, and it is something that it's an area where we as officials can clean up our language, right? If we have an erroneous assumption that the information in the book is the responsibility of the head coaches, the information in the book is the responsibility of the head coaches. That is an erroneous assumption at the high school level. The teams are responsible to submit information, and that information is correct. If there is a transcription error or a failure, the scorekeeper just missed, this player, right? That is not the responsibility of the team, even though the book says something. So making a disconnection between, breaking that connection of thinking that the book wasn't ready or etc. can help in adjudicating plays like that. Billy Mack concurs. Mike Connor's dropping the dime to Mike Goodwin there. Can officials chew tobacco during the game? Mike asks, anybody ever called a technical on the bench chaplain? I think he's raising his hand saying, I have. Tremendous. Huh. Was that a situation where the slides were blurry? Or just too small? That's something I could fix in the future. Right, and of course, that's a key thing to remember as well, and we all know, is double technical makes the adjudication really simple. We go to the point of interruption, double foul, double technical, double flagrant technical. Double means point of interruption. Yeah, I'm with you. Sometimes we just get backed into a corner about submission of rosters after the 10-minute mark. And the situation I described sort of created that dynamic where, all right, so I'm the visiting coach, and here's my roster, right? And he was at the table. It just created the dynamic. Tulin. Like it. Substitute. Article 3, use a megaphone or communication device. Yeah. Hard to imagine. Ray Allen, a local official. Yeah, make a guess. Yeah, absolutely. So the other thing to remember is this, right? I mean, it's great we go into a big game environment, and it's between two dynamic programs, and there's a head coach, and there's 3 assistant coaches, and team managers, and all of these things, right? And this is a great part of high school basketball and doing that. And then we do other games where there's nobody in the stands. This team has, it's a head coach and 7 players. And that's all they've got, right? Maybe they don't even have a scorekeeper, right? They're a visiting team. They are challenged. They're challenged on the transportation front. They're challenged on the support of the program front and all of these things, right? In this instance, the coach is head coach, assistant coach, team manager, responsible for the book, responsible for all these things, right? That's a little different scenario, right? If a team has lots of dynamic support for the team and the program, and they take action, yeah, you know what I'm saying. Ay, ay, ay. My least favorite rule. Huddle in the lane. Is this only if a warning has already been given, right? So, Thomas, with any of our situations, like a delay of game warning situation, right? Players start to huddle. You could say proactively, hold on, guys. No, we're not doing that tonight, right? Or team huddles up. Just for an instance, they fist bump in the middle of the lane, just briefly, and we could warn the team in that instance, etc. My least favorite rule, in that it does not delay the game. I guess at some point it was a thing where it was delaying the game, and that's always a consideration. Because sometimes players, after a made basket, will contact the ball, but it does not in any way inhibit the ability of the player to collect the ball for the throw-in, and may actually enhance that. I batted the ball towards the player who was stepping out of bounds, right? So it's something we may have to address, but doesn't really rise to the level of something that needs a warning. Now, if a team is pressing after a made basket, a player knocks the ball, to the side so that it slows things down and allows their team to set up the press, then obviously that's not a warning situation. That's not a talk them through it situation. That is we are going to assess a delay of game warning. We are going to be vocal. We're going to let everybody know with a book, the head coach, my partners, etc. A little bit of a theatrical production in that instance. So, Thomas, I would say let your conscience be your guide in how to handle that, right? If we've got a team that's delaying the administration, I'm ready to bounce the ball to the thrower, and the team is huddling, and they are, delaying the game, then they are at risk for a delay of game warning. No, it is something that would rise to the level of we are going to assess a delay of game warning for this activity. Okay, Les, I got you. Yeah, it is small. I was, yeah, we were winging it this morning. It wasn't really meant to be read, more to create a list of bullet points. You don't see many, in this neck of the woods, we don't see many cheerleaders with megaphones anymore. That would be cool, though, if a cheer squad did something like a super retro night, and got more of a classic uniform and did some stuff. Jason, yeah, yeah, and when you're, why is improving our language? One is sometimes our language gets in the way of us understanding the rule, right? If we're thinking about a coach being responsible for the correctness of the book, then we are disconnecting from the rule a little bit. The other is we want to communicate in a game situation. We want to have language that's disciplined, etc. But in an environment where we're talking to officials, then that's a great chance to clarify our language and be more disciplined. We don't always, as we've discussed before, we don't always need to be extremely disciplined with our language when we're communicating with stakeholders in the game. We want to meet them where they're at, etc. We're explaining a ruling. We want to be super disciplined, and we always want to have that in our pocket. I could talk rules book language till the cows come home. I don't always do it. It's not necessarily the most comfortable language because it's easier to just talk in a way that we all understand, right? As opposed to, I will not say any words unless I am sure they are accurate reflections of the language of the rules book. It's, who needs it? Who needs it? Yeah, so that's the thing. Let's take a look at the rule. This is going to be in team technical. Contact with the free thrower or a huddle of 2 or more players in the lane by either team prior to the free throw following any team warning for delay. So, it's interesting how NFHS handles this, right? There are delay of game warnings, and a delay of game warning would be assessed for contact with the free thrower or a huddle of 2 or more players in the lane by either team prior to a free throw. That is, by rule, something that should incur a delay of game warning. So it's funny how NFHS, rather than saying getting a second delay of game warning is a team technical, it says committing one of these acts after a delay of game warning has been issued, and one of these acts would be the same things that are the delay of game warning would be issued for. We have a menu of 5 items over here. If you commit one of these 5 items after a delay of game warning for one of these 5 items, right, it's a little bit roundabout the way NFHS approaches it. So, Thomas, to answer your question, by rule, a huddle or contact with players prior to a free throw should be assessed a warning for delay. Not my favorite rule. Yeah. Well, professional language is absolutely a tool we have to have as officials, and the lack of it created a situation where NFHS had to go with a point of emphasis. Yeah, the ones with the megaphones were really out of reach, right? It's the ones who are at the bottom of the pyramid. The ones lifting up the players. They were the most Yeah, I like it, Mike. I like it. Oh, what's the definition of a huddle? Not describe, not, that gives us the leeway to say, well, unless teams are interlocking their arms, it's not a huddle or what have you. So I personally have never given a delay of game warning for a huddle, and I have never seen it in a game. So, yeah. Well, you got to remember, let's see. Let's see. Huh. I don't even know how to look at my preview window. I don't know. Am I showing my screen or not? Huh. I can't tell. I'm assuming I'm not. Let's see. Shifty. Ah, okay. All right. So when I raise my right hand, it shows on the left on my screen. So it's always confusing about what actually, although I know that this is where I put a link into a YouTube video, and that this is where our future video content is. Okay. All right. All right. I got to get to work. I'm going to wrap it up. Thanks, everybody, for joining today for the live stream and for jumping in the chat. We will have additional video content on Wednesday for Basketball Rules Expert. Hope you join us then. Hope everyone has a fantastic day. Troy Gordon is jumping in from New Jersey. Yeah, it's not as Les, it's not as crazy as it seems. It could seem daunting, like what the hell is all that stuff, right? Like if I go here, right? So I have the comments over here on the side, and the way it works with scenes is, like if I select a scene, it's configured in a certain fashion, right? I can put a scene can have just what's on the laptop to my right. I can put the camera overlaid over that scene, so you can configure different scenes in different fashions. And each scene contains overlays, so I can do something like pop that up, or none of those are appropriate for this. And I have sound effects here. And then you could do different things to the cameras. Like I could change the background here. Oh. That was hilarious. And do things with the sound effect, etc. Right, so these are the things that are available to me when I'm behind the scenes. But the main thing is that the image is reversed. I suppose I could change that and flip it. But there you have it. That's your behind the scenes look at a Better Official live streams. Yes, correct, Billy Mack. Wednesday is the first day of the week in California. That's how we roll. Chris, good to see you. Little refresher. And we'll try to put things together when we get to adjudication of play scenarios on Wednesday. All right, fantastic. I'm going to move on down the road. Hope everybody has a great day, and we'll see you on Wednesday. Have a great one. Take care.